I don't know why that makes me laugh every week. It's Crazy Rich Humans time. And today we talk spending habits of the wealthy over the last year or so.
Yes, sure. During the pandemic, that's the time frame we're looking at. And I had some interesting data, like some really sad data in the US. I think 80 million people lost some form of work in that time period, right? 80 million. That's an incredible,
shocking,
proportion of the population. At the other end of the scale, the world's 2,365 billionaires saw their wealth increase by a whopping 54% during the pandemic. That's the response we need. What? Right? So it went from something like $8 trillion that they had to $12 trillion in just 12 months. And if you look at the world's richest guy, Jeff Bezos, his fortune went from $113 billion to $178 billion. They're rich. They're very rich.
That last one isn't really surprising because I mentioned earlier on in the show how, we talked about the increase in online shopping, right?
Mm-hmm. Of course, he's benefited a lot. Yeah. And some online retailers in Korea have benefited. Some have been floated in stock markets in the US as well, which is showing their potential here. But what it has meant, because there's a restriction in travel and wealthy people with their disposable income love to travel. That's how they spend a lot of their money and how they, contribute consumption to the economies. They've not been allowed to do any of that, right? Doesn't matter how wealthy you are, you've been restricted, right, from going to places.
Yeah, that's a great point. Yeah, first-class airplane tickets, luxury hotels, fine dining, things like that, all off the table for the last year.
Absolutely. So it's led to them obviously still having that itch, right? They want to buy something. They're like all of us. Like all of us, we want to purchase something at some point to maybe make us feel better.
Yeah, it's retail therapy.
Yeah, that's what we call it.
Or giving yourself a reward for your hard work. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's a different level, isn't it, with those in that kind of bracket, millionaires, billionaires. And it's been interesting to see where that money has been spent. So one big market is cars. If you take a look at the US, the sales of passenger cars have been down about 10%. So in general, just normal cars. But cars costing more than $80,000 double, their sales in the fourth quarter of 2020 doubled from the year previously.
So the retail therapy is coming in the form of four wheels.
Yes. So the sales of brands like Bentley's, Lamborghinis, and Martins have skyrocketed.
Oh, I did a segment on the Bentleys not so long ago. And we learned through that, that if you have an Bentley, your color is the only color in the world of that car. And if another customer of Bentley wants to have the same color as yours, let's say they saw your car and they said, "Oh, I want that color." Sure. Bentley has to go to you and ask your permission to have that color copy.
What?
Yep. So with that car, people will make like interesting requests, like an old family dog or something. They'll say, "Here's a picture of the dog. Here's the color of the fur. That's the color I want for the car," and they'll make it for you. They'll make anything you want.
They make up that color like custom for you.
Yep. Everything in that car is custom, it seems.
And then if someone wants to copy it, they need your permission.
Yes.
That's unbelievable, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I'm gobsmacked at that fact alone. But in Korea, we've seen something similar, and I'm not a billion or millionaire, even in one terms, I don't think. But I, as well, have taken part in this trend. Like, sales of imported cars have really risen here in Korea. Like, sales of domestic cars, not so much.
Yeah.
But in March, just last month, there was a 12% increase in imported cars. Many of the German luxury brands have seen their sales double as well.
Interesting.
And I talked to my neighbors about this, who also bought a car at the same time as us, also a foreign brand. They were weighing up a domestic brand just like us. And we both, I don't know, there was a point in our weighing up the situation. You know what? I deserve it, like you were saying, and I want something to make me smile, So we just pushed the boat out maybe a little too far, but I think that's what a lot of people have been doing, maybe regardless of the wealth, because we'll see that later on in part 3 and 4. But for the rich, it has been amazing for luxury brands as well.
I mean, I just think it's a natural thing, right? We have been well, we've been lucky here in Korea because we haven't been locked down. Not truly, right? But you need some outlet. You need some sort of something in your life, right?
Yeah.
And even if you hadn't planned on buying a car, or even if you hadn't planned on spending money somewhere, you end up doing it because you just need some sort of release, I think, right? Do you agree with that, Kate?
To a certain extent. And I also think like part of it is because we're always indoors. We're glued to our phones. And just the whole algorithm of how, search engines work and the design of the whole thing, it just makes us scroll constantly. And I think with it also comes with these luxury brands. They make it really nice to scroll and you just keep looking and it's just like, oh, well, I haven't been spending this on this and this. And so might as well spend some on some other thing that I normally wouldn't purchase.
But going back, you're right. But going back to my point, that instinct, maybe not instinct, it's not the right word, but that want or that desire is there to spend it anyway, to spend it on something.
Yeah, you've got that money that's burning a hole in your pocket,
yeah, exactly,
right? And it's hard to just be sensible and say, okay, let's save that, for a rainy day.
So the rich are spending more money on luxury cars. What other things?
Well, it is boredom for them, apparently. They did some interviews in a few publications I was looking at, the New York Times being one, and a lot of them are also just scrolling online like regular folk. You can't go to the stores, they're closed. And it's online auctions that have been getting a lot of the buzz. We did for this segment, in fact, Beeple and that digital art, the non-fungible tokens.
Yeah.
That's selling for like $60 million or whatever it was. And lots of collectibles. So I don't know if you saw the headlines about the Pokemon card. It was a lizard or a Shalizard card, a very rare one from the 90s. And it fetched something like over $1 million for a card.
Wow.
Because those items, they're just not produced anymore.
Yeah.
So something that's in high demand, when there's people with more and more money, the prices just naturally increase. So any collectible items, furniture. And then the other interesting trend was watches. There was a big shutdown in Switzerland, and that's where a lot of the luxury watch brands are based, in Geneva and places like that.
Right.
And so the watch that Biden wore in his inauguration was one of the famous Rolex models.
Okay.
That has been so popular here in Korea that people are queuing up at that store.
Oh.
You have to get a ticket, my friend told me, who's much wealthier than me, and it'll call you back like 6 hours later for your appointment. And then you go back 6 hours later, and that model is always sold out.
Oh, that's so baller. You make an appointment at the watch store.
Yeah, you can't just walk in.
What are you doing? You want to grab a beer later? Can't. That's my watch store appointment time.
But it's just been disappointment, apparently, because that watch, almost every day, it's sold out within the first few hours. So anyone with like a PM appointment cannot get it. It costs $14,300, that watch.
Wow.
And it's just impossible to get your hands on. So again, the second-hand market has boomed. People buying it and then selling it straight away online.
For more?
Double.
Really?
In some cases, $30,000 we're talking. Yeah. And it's not just limited to Korea. This is going on with luxury watch brands everywhere. Because of the shutdown in Switzerland, the supply has reduced greatly. The demand, if anything, has increased. And so apparently now on 47th Street in New York, you're seeing watches that are new, but the people who are selling them, the independent stores, they're jacking up the prices. It's not the RRP at all.
Yeah.
It's maybe a certain watch by Philippe brand. I don't even know that one. It's usually $85,000. Retailers are selling it for $200,000.
Oh my God.
And they are selling.
Is that right?
Yeah. I like my smartwatch, and I got it secondhand over
Pete, we should set up a little watch stand downstairs. Like B1 or maybe just outside. Outside, we could have a little cart with ice cream, too. That could draw people in.
I have like 4 secondhand watches at home. They're not very expensive ones, but demand is soaring.
Luxury cars. Somebody I know told me that they were ordering a German automobile.
Okay.
That takes 6 months to get delivered from Germany to Korea. And what people are doing, apparently, is ordering this car, and then when they get it, they sell it. for like this is a $250,000 car.
Oh my goodness.
And then they get it, and then they sell it for like 400,000 because of the 6-month waiting, because shipping.
Oh, there's no wait if you buy it straight away, so you're paying for that basically.
Yeah, exactly.
Wow.
Yeah.
I should do that. There's a dealer next to my house.
There you go.
If you can chip in, Kate and Steve, we could get one. It's an investment.
Let me get my wallet.
It's a no-brainer.
Do they accept Subway sandwich cards? Sorry, brand name.
You'd get a discount, surely.
Yeah, well, it's true. And going back to the point that it doesn't matter because it's all relative, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It might be buying some extra clothes. I'm sure clothing sales are probably up as well. It doesn't matter. It's all relative to the amount of money that you can hopefully afford to spend, right?
Sure, yeah. And in some cases, it might be an investment for the future.
That's true. Luxury watches. Does that kind of coincide with what we learned, though? The cars make sense to me. The watches, though, I don't know. That seems like a bit of a reach.
Like some luxury watches are heirlooms, like you pass it down to your kids and whatnot. So the Swiss brands, and we're talking about the ones we've never even heard of. Rolex is at the bottom of this ladder, apparently.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, there's loads of those that are just bought and never worn, and then they're just sold at a later time.
I do that sometimes, too, just for when I'm bored, like go onto like sites that sell different watches. And you're right. We think of like the R company as like the pinnacle, like the peak of the peak.
Yeah.
Oh, no. You go look at some of these sites and it's just names you've never even heard of before. And the prices are just astronomical.
Yeah.
It's crazy. But for people who are really into watches, they know those brands.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
But for people like me, like if Pete, you were wearing one of those things right now, I probably wouldn't know the difference, right?
It's only the people that know that know.
Exactly. Yeah. All right. So that's what the rich are doing. Hang around for hour number 2, and we will tell you what the not so rich are doing here.
Lifestyles of the not rich and famous.
That code should be like, I have no money.
No dosh, as we'd say in Britain.
No what? No dosh.
Yeah, dosh.
No dosh means you're broke.
Absolutely.
Well, we learned about the spending habits over the last year. Over the last year in the first hour of the very, very wealthy. But what about, as we will learn in hour number 2, the not so wealthy, people like us?
Well, have you heard of the phrase revenge buying? Like, there's lots of revenge things out there, some not so good. This one may be actually a good thing, revenge buying.
I've never heard of it before.
Yeah, I don't.
What's your guess on what that might mean, Kate?
Revenge. You want revenge, so you buy. You outbuy whatever person that you want to have revenge on, like whatever luxury good that they have.
You one-up them.
Yeah, exactly. If they have a $2,000 something, I get a $3,000.
Oh, that's a good guess. Is that it?
No. It's nothing to do with other people. What you're getting revenge on is actually the pandemic. So what's been happening in recent months is I think people have reached their limits. And here in Korea in particular, you can go to a department store. You can spend money, right? Yeah. So a lot of not rich folks, just the average working class people, they have been spending a little crazily on maybe things they can't afford or they've saved up a lot of money for.
Okay.
And they're dubbing this, not just in Korea actually, but in other places, revenge buying or revenge consumption. It's to get back at Corona and just beat the Corona blues, find our way of doing it.
That's a good question for a daily question too. What was your revenge purchase?
Oh, that is a good question. So a lot of people in Korea have been doing the luxury bag scene, because that's long been a thing here, but more consumers from less wealthy backgrounds have been buying them in recent months, from like January to February, March.
Would that be considered an investment as well, perhaps?
A lot of the interviews, you hear what they say, these students in some cases or part-time workers, and they're just like, this is my one ray of happiness. I've been eating ramyeon for months to buy this bag. And just give me a smile.
But that's what I mean, though. Will that go up in price? Like, do luxury bags, will they, could you even make money selling it a little bit later?
I think it really depends on what you're buying. If it's a limited edition or not, it really depends.
Yeah, if it's one of the really high-end ones,
Gotcha.
yeah, then maybe. The other thing is, for people in Korea, it was a really interesting fact I heard. They've been spending a lot as well, regular folks, on cosmetic surgery because you're wearing your masks. So no one knows you're getting surgery.
Yeah, it's the perfect
time.
Yeah, and so apparently, because with the vaccines rolling out, people have been rushing to do this now.
Oh.
So now everyone's like, wait, soon we're going to take off the mask. So I need to get this done now. Like right now, otherwise everyone's going to see.
That's cute. We're not taking off the masks anytime soon.
It's true, yeah. It's not going to happen
nice
in
to have
autumn.
hope, though.
Yes,
That's fascinating. It kind of makes sense, though, right?
Yeah.
You can get some stuff done, and you don't even have to. You don't even have to pretend to hide it.
Yeah, because people wear their baseball caps with their masks. There's not much you can see.
Yep.
Yeah, so it's not a bad spending trend.
Interesting. You were talking before about how people during these pandemic times and the fact that we have to wear a mask, people are using this opportunity to go get some work done.
Yes.
Right? Because they can hide behind their mask and not have to worry about it.
Great idea.
I want to share a piece of information that I was told recently by my friend who is really, really into skincare.
Oh, okay.
And if you listen to the show regularly, you know that I love going to the clinic and getting a facial.
Yeah.
Right.
Love it. But my friend who's even more into it than I am told me this. So I don't know how accurate this is.
Okay.
This is just information that I was told. So if you go to a skin clinic and you get a facial that costs around like, I don't know, 3만 원, 4만 원,
Yeah.
like 30 or 40,000 won.
Yeah.
According to this guy's doctor, the benefit of that is for like a day or two, your skin will look like really fresh.
Okay.
But if it's not going to make a long-term difference to your skin, what he said was the doctor described it to him like this. You can take a piece of dried squid and put expensive lotion on it, and it's still going to be a piece of dried squid.
It's lovely.
After a couple of days.
Yeah.
And I totally got it. So if you want to make a long-term difference to your skin, you got to pay the expensive prices.
And then that turns the dried squid into like some moist,
I guess so.
vibrant squid.
To say 상낙지.
Lovely.
From 오징어 to 산낙지.
But that's what I was told, so I wanted to share that with you. I don't know how accurate that is or not.
Well, that's a good segue into what I wanted to talk about now, actually. People in their like 20s and 30s, they're the ones splurging, doing the revenge buying for luxury bags and stuff. But apparently people in their 50s and 60s, one of the things they're spending their money on is skincare, because for the past year, they haven't been going out and they've really kind of let their hair down and they've let go of themselves a little bit. And when you're of that age, it's a little harder to like get back to your peak, right? So they're spending a load of money on expensive cosmetics. Maybe hearing advice like you're giving, Steve, that it's going to take a big push in terms of their budget. So at department stores, they've seen a big rise. Sales have increased apparently 25% on skincare products from people in their 60s in particular.
Interesting. You don't do anything to like no skincare routine at all, right?
Oh, I do toner and moisturizer, basically.
I've recently branched out into eye cream, and I don't know if it makes a difference or not, to be honest with you. I put it on in the morning and at night. It's the same thing. I was just bored looking on the internet for like other stuff to do to my face or whatever, and that's what I found, so that's what I bought. So I'm in that, I'm not in the 50s or 60s group, but I'm in that group of people who are just spending money on that type of product.
Yeah, I've done the eye cream as well, but I'm often like looking at it and I look at my moisturizer, I'm like, this is the same thing.
I
like
know.
It's just in a different package.
I get mad at it too, because the little thing, it's like the size of your thumbnail, right?
Yeah.
And it
Right.
costs like $80.
Exactly, it's expensive, right?
Yeah.
And the other really interesting trend amongst 50s and 60s, especially here in Korea, is just throughout the boredom of the pandemic, right, staying at
Yeah.
home, what a lot of them have turned to, the KAIST University here did a survey, is gaming. And I'm talking computer games, especially mobile phone games.
Oh, really?
So over half of people in their 50s have been gaming during the pandemic in some shape or form.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it sounds kind of cute
Yeah,
in a
it's
way, doesn't it?
adorable.
But yeah, a lot of them are like doing the brain exercise ones, but also my half auntie, like an auntie of an uncle of mine who's quite close to our family. We went over to her house and she was like, I'll be with you in a second. I'm just finishing off my computer game. And I was like, what are you playing? She was playing Korean cards online.
Oh, wow.
Like the poker. And she was so into it. And it's not real money. It's like fake, just tokens.
Right.
But she was so annoyed.
Wink, wink.
Maybe you're right. She was very
Hold
irate.
on. I'll be there in a minute. Entertain yourselves.
Just some fake coins that I'm winning here. But she was so into it. And apparently it's really good to keep yourself mentally fit, but also less lonely. Like, even if it's a one-player game, it'll keep you feeling less isolated.
Wow.
Something to do.
Yeah.
Something to do. Yeah, it makes sense. Now we know what people are doing, people in our situations, right? For the rich, it's luxury bags and luxury. Watches and cars, and for the people like us, it was the bags.
Bags and cosmetics.
Cosmetics. There you go. All right. When we come back, we'll be finishing up the show with your messages. Here's Nick Jonas. This is Heaven.